Good morning, happy Sunday. I am Variety TV editor Michael Schneider, and about to party down. Thanks for coming, everyone. Let's bring out our panelists right now. First up, executive producer, and of course he plays Henry on the show, Adam Scott. He directed the first episode that you saw, 304, and also he plays Ron, of course, Ken Marino. The starting lineup of the 2023 reboot of Party Down. And finally, she plays Lucy on the show, Zoe Chao. Are we having fun yet? Hey, see, the true fans know what I'm talking about. So I've been looking at some of the the end of the year list, best shows of the year. I went back and read some of the reviews for this season, and one of the things that a lot of people wrote when the new season first came out was, most reboots we don't need. We've got enough. We're good, but we needed this. We needed this, and what was, when you guys first started hearing sort of the reaction to this, what was your response, and what did that feel like to see just this universal sort of feeling of, yeah, this is a reboot that we needed?
Well, I think it was a relief, because first of all, you just never know what the reaction is going to be, no matter what it is. But this was a little dicey because, yes, reboots have now become somewhat of a cliche. It's just, it's kind of a common story, all the actors being like, it was like no time had passed. We're all together doing this thing, which is all completely true, but also not a reason to do it in the first place. But we always, ever since we finished in 2010 to 2009, we always, for that entire time, we were talking about doing it and came close a couple times, and really felt like we were canceled right when we were really finding it and having the greatest time. Anyway, so it was sort of a legitimate reason to come together and get going again.
Yeah, for me, I had the same feeling of like, oh God, a reboot, is it going to be good? But then as soon as we got John Embaum's scripts, and we read them, we were like, oh, it really does feel like a third season that just happens to be 12 years later or 10 years later or whatever.
Yeah, John said he wrote it from the point of view of, this show has been going this entire time. We just haven't seen all the seasons. And this is like season 14, and we're just picking right up.
Right, you just forgot to shoot it, but it was still happening.
There's bootleg copies floating around somewhere.
Well, we shot them. But
you just couldn't clear the music, so that's the main reason. Zoe, for you, where were you in 2009, and were you watching Party Down as a fan?
Where was I in 2009? I was in grad school in San Diego, studying to become an actor, and I didn't watch the show right when it came out. I then moved.
Thank you for your support.
Anytime.
Honesty.
But I heard, through the grapevine, there was this incredible show. And by the time I started watching the show, I was working in LA. I had graduated, and I was working at Bar Marmont as a cocktail waitress for 4.5 years there. Thank you. And watching the show while doing that job was such a balm, because the service industry is cuckoo bananas, and it was fun. It was just nice to be on this parallel journey with this motley crew of people just trying to, chase their dreams, and it being a real shit show, which was, my lived experience too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this show is very personal to a lot of folks, a lot of actors in particular, so I think there's something special that probably a lot of people in this room sort of understand as well. Yeah.
Your shit show is our shit show.
Except Party Down is not a shit show. It is one of the greatest shows of 2023.
I agree.
So, Adam, you mentioned that there were kind of fits and starts for a while in the return of Party Down. So when did you all sort of get that sense that, oh, this is real, this could really come back, and we're all ready to do it?
Yeah, I think right when we finished, just, you know, in the couple of years after we finished originally in 2009, we were talking about doing a movie, and actually came quite close. John wrote a script for a movie, and it just never quite came together. It did come close, and the script was wonderful, but there was something about it that felt like one of the great things about the show is just the idea, the kernel of the idea of each episode is a different party. We drop in and meet a whole new cast of characters, and then our core team gets into trouble at whatever party it is. It's just this great formula. In a 3-act movie structure, that completely changes, and it's a question of, okay, so do we do 3 parties? Do we go home and see
their home life?
see them at their apartments and stuff? And it's hard to write a movie script without that stuff. So that did have to come into it, and it was really fun and funny and good, but it was also, it felt off. So maybe the movie not happening ended up being a blessing in disguise, because once sort of streaming started and reboots started kind of emerging, that felt like the right way to go. And it became real like during the pandemic, like 2020, early 2021 is when John started, you know, formulating the ideas for the stories and the scripts.
I mean, it is pretty incredible when you think about this show, this little show that could. It was only 2 seasons. You all moved on to you know, other great things, but there was always this simmering feeling of, hey, Party Down, can that come back? Will that come back? I'm sure you guys for years got that question whenever you're talking about anything else you're working on. And what about Party Down?
For sure. It was a show that spoke to certain people, and like they enjoyed it, and it was, when I would be working on something else, they would always ask me about, like, people would ask me about Party Down and ask if it was coming back. And for a long time I was saying, oh yeah, we're talking about it. We all want to do it. We all want to do it. And I said that for about 8 years. And then finally I was like, I guess it's not happening. And so I gave up all hope. And as soon as I did that, we did the show. So there's a little lesson there. Just give up on life, and then things will start happening.
That's where it all comes together.
That's when it comes together. Yeah.
Or if we just keep wearing you down by asking these questions over and over again. So, Adam, when's the Parks and Rec reunion coming? We'll just
When
keep
is
going.
the Parks and Rec reunion?
Yeah, how about that?
It's next week it comes out.
Okay, I can't wait to see it.
7-episode reboot. It's not.
Zoe, for you, what was this like in sort of hearing that they're doing a reboot, and how did you get involved?
I lost my mind when I heard that they were adding new characters to this perfect cast. And I was like, God, you know, I think it's just, well, it's great to have, you know, auditions and stuff, but it's so rare when you are such a fan of a show and then you could maybe be invited to come play. And so I was like, can we put our hat into the ring, please? And I was actually living underneath a chef, a private chef, when I was taping this audition, and I asked to borrow his chef uniform.
Really?
I did, and he gave it to me. He at the end, he was like, "It is yours."
For the audition?
For the audition, and then I still have it.
Did you put yourself on tape, or did you go in and meet them? Like, I don't know how
I
it
did
works.
a producer session right away with John and Dan and Rob. And it was right, and Kenny, the chef, was above me, you know, being like, we're rooting for you. But as soon as I got the part, I was like, oh my God, yes! And then 3 seconds later, I was like, no. This is bad. This is a bad idea. They have a perfect ecosystem. Why would they invite anyone to come on and mess it up? So.
And then you came in and made it better.
Way better. Way better.
So what did your buddy Kenny upstairs, what did he think of the portrayal of a private chef who makes food that's pretty inedible at times?
I don't think he watched the show. But I moved out. I was in town working. It was an Airbnb, so we lost track. But I still have his.
It's just so funny that you say that because your audition, you had the whole smock on, or what did you call it?
Yeah.
The chef's uniform. But also, it just felt authentic. It seemed like you were an actual chef. It's so funny that that's what it was, because there was something super authentic about the uniform and stuff. Ken,
I don't know how to drink water, apparently.
I was gonna say,
The whole time I was opening that up, I was like, let me just be discreet about this while Adam's giving his answer. And I definitely don't spill water on yourself. And then I took it and fucking dribbled.
he cannot help but
Sorry
upstage
about
me
So sorry.
at all
So
times.
sorry.
I mean, you were staring right at him when he did that. How could you
Yeah.
not bring it up?
I'm gonna try again.
There. He did
Did
it.
it.
Practice makes perfect.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So Adam, actually, that in talking about Zoe's audition, that brings up a good point that you're an EP this time. So you had a chance to have more active involvement in the creation of this reboot. Talk a little bit about that, working with John. What were some of your thoughts, your input in working with him on the reboot?
Well, John is such an incredible writer, and like Ken said, when we got the scripts, it was just wonderful because you forget, and it's been 12, 13 years, you forget just how great his stories and his dialogue are. It fits like a glove onto every single character, and it was just so much fun diving back in. And John is someone who has an overabundance of ideas and stuff. So not that he needed any assistance or help. When it started out in early 21, he, Rob Thomas, Paul Rudd, Dan Etheridge, and I would get on a Zoom once a week, just before it was even official, just to sort of talk out, like, okay, because we hadn't talked about it in 13 years, like, what are all these people doing? What are the story? What would the parties be? And just kind of had these really general conversations for like 3 hours every Sunday for, 7 weeks or something. And it was just so much fun. I was down with COVID, so I was trapped indoors anyway. And it was just a way to kind of reconnect with my friends and also just talk about these characters again. We all realized how much we missed them. And so after, 7 or so of these Zooms, John just took all of this kind of raw information and went away for 6 weeks or so and came up with the kind of structure and arc of the season and two incredible new characters and so
Three new characters,
right?
Yeah, well, one of the things I really like about how you guys sort of engineered this is, it wouldn't make sense for everyone to still be at Party Down 13 years later, but for different reasons, they all kind of find their way back, and it feels legit the way they found their way.
Yeah, that's also the tough math problem to work out was everyone wouldn't still be working at the catering company, or it might be depressing, or just people wouldn't, you just wouldn't really buy it necessarily. So if that's the case and not everyone's working there, how do we get them all there for each party? And that was, part of John's brilliance is figuring all that stuff out.
Yeah. And it opens the first episode back. Everyone seems to be kind of on the upward trajectory. Doesn't last all that long, and then COVID actually rears its head and helps with everyone's decline a little.
That was my favorite when reading the first script, and then at the end, he just says the date. He's like, "This year is gonna be great," and then like in the background you see, the COVID is breaking, the COVID breakout, and then just it cuts to him living in his van. I thought that was so funny.
One thing we did come up with during those conversations that was just too ridiculous to actually use, but I really loved, was that what we learned in episode 2 is over the pandemic, Ron had used his van as a food truck, and instead of super crackers, he was selling soup and open-faced sandwiches that he called spreaders. So his van was called Super Spreaders. And that's part of his failure over the pandemic.
Oh, Ron.
Oh, Ron, indeed. This guy, he still has such optimism when he seems to step into it every episode.
He's trying real hard.
He is. Well, Ken, you directed 304.
Yes, I did.
Think about.
Yes, I did.
You had directed in season 2 as well. You do a lot of directing, by the way.
I like it.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that. What appeals to you as a performer?
Power! The power to tell everybody what to do.
Seriously, it's all he likes about it.
I just yell at Adam the whole time. I'm allowed to yell at Adam the whole time.
He has a really unique approach to directing. What he'll do is he'll say, yell action, and then as you're entering the scene, he will flash his cell phone with the alarm at 3 minutes and ticking down, and you have 3 minutes to stick your scene.
Look, as a director, as a hired director, you have to make your days. A lot of directors don't understand this, so you have to look at a timer and you gotta be organized. You gotta make the scenes in a certain amount of time. So
It's athletic.
sometimes I would say, all right, we have 4 minutes to get this scene. All right, action! And then I show her, and then we do the scene. And all it would do is just make us all work a little harder to get the scene within the time frame that we had.
Having a time limit.
It wasn't stressful at all, was it?
No, not at all.
It's like you turn working on a scene into an Olympic sport.
Yeah,
That's
it's
right. That's right.
stamina. It was a survival of the fittest.
My take on being a director is actors don't like sitting around and waiting for the next take. So I just take that element out, and we just keep doing take, and then immediately stop and go back to and do it again, and do it again. And that seems to work
for
really
water.
well. No time
No
for
time
nobody needs
for
water.
tying your
That's why we have
shoe.
lunch breaks.
No time for.
I remember before you discovered the clock on your cell phone back in Burning Love days, you had an actual stopwatch.
I had a stopwatch during Burning Love. I thought there was going to be some applause for Burning Love.
What's this? What is
It's
this?
sort of like an old, so like the king, like the prince.
Oh, okay.
Like,
All right.
Never done that.
I've had
Well,
just about
because
enough of that.
You're not royalty.
These are his subjects.
Yeah.
They've come to hear Ken.
Yeah, I had a stopwatch for a little while, but now
Stopwatch.
modern time.
So what do you do when you're in the scene, when you're directing yourself?
I have the phone in my back pocket, and sometimes in the scene, if we don't make the 4 minutes or 3 minutes, you'll hear wanna wah wanna 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 wah wanna, and then I'm like, and then I ruin the scene, and then it's a mess. You know what's nice about directing myself in a scene is I don't have to give myself notes. I already know them.
So it sounds like you're able to shoot these episodes in like a day and a half.
That's what we aim for. But you know actors, sometimes they're late out of their trailer. You know, sometimes they have questions about their character.
Well, what's fun about this episode is you got to direct everyone on shrooms. So what is the sort of the protocol and sort of how do you get people to act like they're on shrooms?
For me, I like to really kind of be in touch with the material that I'm doing. So I was on shrooms the whole time. And it really worked out. I really feel like we captured a shroomy vibe. No, it was, you know, I think, well, we've all done shrooms, right?
It's actually in your parting gift this afternoon.
So no, I mean the trick of that episode, or the tricky part of that episode, was to try to make sure that everybody was tripping in a slightly different way, because it's an easy trap to fall into where everybody just is acting like they're on shrooms. So that was but other than that, it was like just a fun episode.
It was so fun.
It was.
That was a
We had a
really,
good time.
really fun episode.
Yeah,
And we got to do some fun stuff together,
We
which
really did, and it is fun. It's really fun being directed by Ken. It kind of feels like you're being directed by Ron. But it's alive, you know? It's alive, and I think that was one of my favorite days on set, was being in that tent and you and your alarm.
And also Jennifer Garner in that episode is
She
so
is so
great. I know,
good.
she's so
And
so
took
great.
Tyrell too.
Tyrell, oh my God, he was really driving the episode because he was, so freaked out. On
Did you watch
mushrooms.
that episode?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's great.
They,
Which ones did you? That one and then
304
one
and 305.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so they know what you're talking about. You mentioned Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
Best.
Good.
I mean, we couldn't believe we were getting. It was one of those things. We were like, yes. And if it's it would be like in a perfect world, it'd be Jennifer Garner. We won't get Jennifer Garner, but that's the type of character that would be a perfect fit. And then someone had the idea of just asking her if she wanted to do it, which none of us had thought of. And so we're like, oh, fine, yeah, but we have to think of who we'll actually get. And she said yes. Her kids loved the show, and so she was like, yeah, totally. And she loved the show as well. But and she was fantastic. I mean, obviously, just so great.
She was also so it was really fun to bond with Jen and Tyrell, because we all three were so nervous for this project, because I think we're, well aware of how diehard the fans are. And this was like, a real anticipated return. So we would just constantly be like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Are you okay? Yeah.
But when you watch the show, it just seems like all three of you are just like this perfect fit into that world. It just worked out so beautifully, I think.
Same. Very lucky. Very, very lucky.
And these characters really fit in too, because of course they all have their own unique quirks. I mean, talk a little bit more about Lucy and the food, and by the way, what was the real food like? I mean, was it as unedible as it was supposed to be?
Yeah, complex, robust textures and flavors.
Yeah, this sounds delicious.
Also, I just want to say, the reason I said that we were all nervous is just, Jen is Jen Garner, and it was just really cute to see her love this show so much and be so nervous.
Yeah.
That was the point of the story.
They're just like us.
Yeah. It was cool. It was really fun to play Lucy Dang. She's the first character to talk about food on the show. So that felt like a nice responsibility. She's a lunatic, and is someone who identifies as a food artist who doesn't really care about what the food tastes like, but wants it to move you. And I like how committed she was to that. And yeah, it's fun to play someone who really knows who they are and what they want.
Exactly.
I don't know what that's like. But fun to play someone like that.
Right. That's why it's acting. It's all about acting.
I thought your character was a great character to play. It certainly was great for Ron, because you were so strong-willed, and so to have scenes with you was exciting, because it was a new dynamic that was kind of a blast.
Yeah, and bringing something completely new and unique, both you and Tyrell, to the gang of caterers, that was just, they were really fun, terrific characters on the page, but then when you came in and showed us what the character could actually be, it was a brand new flavor and skill set being brought to the party. Pun totally attended.
Well, when we're talking about shout out, yeah, clap. Why not?
No.
Clap for Adam Scott. But going back to Jeff Garner and Henry, your character. I mean, what an interesting journey for this character just this season alone. Starting in one place and then sort of really going to another place, and then he's dating Jen Garner for a while, and then he really finds something with these kids. And at the end of the season, when he makes that big decision to stay and teach because he really feels like he's found his voice, I mean, that's quite a journey for your character.
Yeah, I think that was getting Henry back at Party Down was one thing, and kind of catching up with where his life is at the beginning of the season, and then getting him back in the fold with Ron and the catering job was another. And then the relationship was really important. Something that I really loved that John created was Henry feeling like he'd finally found what he wanted, and being tempted by the kind of what show business could, what a successful career in show business could be once again, and diving in for what he then decides is the last time, and for once and for all decides that this is something that not only has passed him by, but he's passed it by, and it's just not his thing anymore, and he finds all of the satisfaction and everything, that the fulfillment in somewhere else, somewhere more important to him, and makes that choice at the end. And it was something that I thought was really wonderful, and in less able hands than John could have played out in sort of a cliched, sappy way, but really felt motivated and driven by the characters and the circumstance. I was really excited about it.
Yes, the right note, and that's something that's been great about Party Down, is striking that note of being really absurd at times, really funny at times, but then also there's emotion there, and it's like the right amount. So, Ken, you look like you agree.
No, I do agree. I mean, I think that all is about Adam. Like, he's an incredible actor. And the way you play that character, and the way you ground everything, and the way you walk that line between sort of the absurdity of the show, but really bringing the heart and the depth to that character in the show is what, for me, makes the show.
Well, that's ridiculous, but thank you.
Well, that it struck me in watching the season, going back to the fact that it had been 13 years, and so much had changed for all of you on the cast, and you all had kind of grown, and all had done some really amazing projects, including some dramatic projects that you've been involved with, Adam. But all of you have done a lot, and so that must have been really fascinating to come back and sort of play with this group, but all having grown. What was that sort of like in sort of acting with folks who had all kind of gone on and done other things, and maybe came back a little more seasoned, had some more things to show? That must have been fascinating to kind of also experience that growth as actors.
I mean, I think if we stick around in this town, and so we're inevitably, hopefully, going to get better at what we do. And but what I found to be really interesting and was fun and exciting is we showed up that first day, and it was as if we were back 12 years ago. Like, we were all just a bunch of idiots and acting like idiots and teasing each other again. And so that camaraderie and that love that we had for each other, that real love that we had for each other, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, was right back there the first day. And that feeling and that comfort zone and that security, made us all just plop right back into these characters. It just seemed all natural. And so having that safety, and also the fact that we have been doing it for a while, created, I think, a really wonderful third season.
Yeah, I just immediately, you're right, right when we all came back for that first episode and we were in that bar and everyone had the outfits on and everything, it just felt like no time had gone by, which is one of the cliches I mentioned earlier with reboots. But also, I flashed right back to when we were shooting what ended up being the series finale in 2009 that Ken was directing, and I remember the moment when Jane drives off in the car. She's got married, and we're all waving goodbye to her, and suddenly I got really emotional because I felt like we had sort of the sixth sense that we were done, that this show was going to get canceled, because there was things happening at the time. There was a changing of the guard, and so we thought we might be done. So I remember waving goodbye to Jane and getting really emotional and thinking, this is it. We're never going to do this again. And I was right. And just the fact that we were back doing it again all that time later was really significant. And it felt like a just chasm of time, and at the same time it felt like zero time.
And now, thank God, Zoe only says yes to projects with party in the title.
That's right.
Exactly. But it, you know, someone on the outside, you know, watching this reunion happen, I've been fans of your work for so long, and you know, and that whole cast.
Of the two, who do you like?
Yeah, if you had to like,
You had to.
escape.
You had to.
Adam.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But you know, and there, you know, the whole cast is comprised of like titans of, you know, American comedy, and it's, but there is no ego on that set, and it was except for Ken, and it was like I was really moved by how quickly you guys, you know, just embraced us, and it was just also really beautiful to witness you guys come back together and make more magic.
So the final question is the question that you forever will again get until the end of time. So, more Party Down? What's going on? When are we going to see more Party Down?
I mean, we hope so. Everyone is excited to do more. I don't know where or when, but I think we all want to.
Sure.
Yeah. Anytime, anywhere, we will do.
And again, maybe on your phones, even if
Yeah, that's what I meant. We'll do it on our phone.
Okay, we'll shoot an episode right now backstage. Well, season 3 of Party Down, everyone. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Adam.
Wow.
I mean, these guys have to go to the bathroom real bad. They've been holding it for a really long time.
There's gonna be a long line on that bathroom.
It was you drinking water that really got them.